Hi, welcome to week 11 of the program. The program is doing very well, and today what we will do is we will talk about something different. We start with a quote. This quote says, this is written by a guy named John Robbins. And John Robbins says that it is the time to eat like our lives depend upon it. Because actually they do. Isn't that amazing? That's what we are finding out slowly and slowly, that what we are doing is extremely important for our well-being, our health, and our lifespan. So you are one of the lucky ones. You now know that this is true, number one, and also you know how to make it better. How to make it better so that your lives are much, much better. So let me take you back to the mid 20th century. Let me take you back as to where we landed, where we are right now in this mess. We did talk about it earlier on in the program, maybe in the second week, but it is time to recap. So, as you remember, in the mid 20th century, the diseases of the kings started to become widespread. Right? So, everybody started to fall into the pleasure trap, and you had diseases like diabetes becoming common, cancer, obesity, blood pressure, and so many diseases started to appear left, right, and center. Now what was happening, that initially these were diseases of the kings, the real kings, but now what was happening? A new royalty started to appear. Now what was this royalty about? This royalty was made possible by two inventions of Edison. One is the records and another is music. So movies and records produced a new kind of royalty. Take the example of somebody like Elvis Presley. Take the example of Elvis Presley. Elvis Presley was born into a very poor household, but he was extremely gifted. He was so gifted that he recorded his first song at the age of 18. And by 1992, he had more than 1 billion records which had been recorded and sold. So that in itself was a record. Then, because of all this, he was crowned as King Presley. That is good for him, no problem. But then what happened? He started to eat like a king. And what did he eat? A diet rich in fats and rich in animal proteins. So he started to eat proteins like fried chicken, peanut butter, banana sandwiches, cheeseburgers every day. I know, now you will be all very horrified, but that is what he started to do. And his favorite drink was Coke. So by the mid-30s, he weighed almost 120 kilos. And he was completely being managed by prescription drugs. Drugs were used to make him sleep. Drugs were used to make him wake up. At the very early age of 42, he died of a cardiac event, probably precipitated by cocaine intake. So that was the sad story of King Presley. Right. So now, how does that relate to our situation? Remember, in the good old days, in the days of the ancestors, the real pleasure, what they considered as pleasure, was food, sex, and the warmth of a fire in a bitterly cold night. Those were the things they craved for. That was all. This led to transient rises of dopamine, and then which was preceded by which was then followed by endorphins, sometimes serotonins, right? So if we were to extrapolate those pleasures in the present time, those pleasures would probably translate to spending time with friends, doing a job amazingly, playing an amazing game like Jaiswal, and sleep well, regular exercise, all of those should trigger the same pleasurable feelings inside you. That would be the same parallel. But what do? We eat unhealthy foods. We do lack of exercise. There is no exercise. We use drugs for everything. And we have deprived sleep. So then what happens? We don't feel good. And when we don't feel good, we are dependent on alcohol, coffee, drugs, and rich foods, sugary foods to artificially stimulate dopamine release in the brain. And when we don't get those foods, when we don't get that artificial stimulation of dopamine, we feel pretty crazy, we feel down, we feel depressed. Remember, a lot of you have like commented recently, it is so boring to eat the same diet, to eat vegetables every day. I can't look at vegetables anymore. So see, those are coming not because of you, those are coming from your bad habits which have been there for ages and ages. There you are getting your dopamine from your taste buds, from your wrong foods, and when you don't get that dopamine, you get that craving, you get the boring feeling, and you crib. So now you understand where does that come from. And now you'll also understand why we ignore all those comments. Right? So then what happens? We are not exercising, we are gaining weight, we are fatigued all the time, and we become even more sedentary. We are very want to flop on the sofa after you come from work and watch the television. So the thing just goes on and on. A downward spiral starts. So we have not realized that lack of exercise, wrong habits, and wrong foods are the real causes of our own problems. We haven't realized that. So we overlook that it is the high carbohydrate food, the lot of TV watching, sedentary lifestyle is causing all the health issues in our bodies. But we always say it is lack of pleasure. There is pleasure deficiency. So what do? You eat more of those sugary foods. You drink more of those colas. You drink more of wine, alcohol. You start binge watching television. And the OTT channels are pretty much there for you. So you do the binge watching, trying to push your dopamine somehow or the other into higher levels so that you feel pleasure, you feel good. So all of this is artificial. All of this is not natural pleasure. And it is pleasure deficiency we think, and we go after all these stupid things. So what we are trying to do here is to course correct slowly. We are taking 15 weeks to do this. But breaking a bad habit is always very, very slow, and it can be painful. Like if you are just asked to give up coffee in the morning, you remember how difficult it was, but you all did it very well. But initially it will be difficult and it will be feeling definitely not pleasurable. It's like a drug withdrawal. So when we advocate healthy eating, you will right away classify it as pleasure deficiency and boring. But is that the smart thing to do? Think about it. It is time to reclaim your birthright. Your birthright to perfect health. It is a birthright to choose what is good for you. You must at all costs reclaim it. You have to understand that your drug-like diet which you were taking before to make you on a high is not going to work. You have to understand your need for quality sleep. You have to understand that regular exercise is good for you. And when you are changing over from the unhealthy to the healthy phase, that kind of, discomfort, short-term discomfort, or what I would want to call it, should be endured. If you do that, for some amount of time, I assure you that you reduce your chances of premature disability or death. That is a given, that is certain. But you would say, like, somebody in the family will say, everybody has to die sometime, so why not enjoy and die? But remember, the real enjoyment is still there. If you can look at the short-term effects that a good diet, a good habit is going to bring to you, that is also worth achieving. You are seeing right now the benefits of things you never thought were possible. The increased amount of energy, the disappearance of all niggling symptoms, breathlessness, and this and that, and you can see your sleep patterns. Everything is improving. So these are potential positive changes. So hold on to them. Recapture the sense of right living. What is the right living? That exercise is refreshing. Healthy foods starts tasting better now, because you can now see, associate that taste with the good feeling inside you. And then when you wake up after deep, restful night sleep, feeling refreshed would become the norm rather than the odd thing happening. You feel refreshed in the morning and you are ready to go for a new day. Think about that. So, to sum it up, let us again look at the pleasure trap. The pleasure trap was what? Number one, pleasure seeking. And how did we do that? By obesity. We went after pleasure of all those foods and stuff. And what do we land up with? Obesity, exhaustion, addictions. What did pain avoidance make us do? Pain avoidance discouraged exercise and going after healthy choices. When you have to eat healthy, you have to have some effort, and that is always painful. Energy conservation also made you discourage exercise and kept you stuck in the rut. Just take it out from the fridge or buy it from the supermarket and eat it. All the packaged foods and everything, because you don't want to spend the energy to make yourself some healthy stuff. So now, looking back after like the 10 weeks, we can now see how we have broken through this and pleasure trap. We have hacked this pleasure trap. We have understood how to go through it and redefine pleasure for us. So I encourage you guys to redefine your pleasure and make the new definitions for you. What is pleasure for me? And write them down in the group. Share them in the group. So let us all exchange notes that from now on I found that I really get pleasure when people give me compliments. I get pleasure when I am able to be energetic. I am pleasure when I don't have to carry all that weight around. And so on and so forth. These are just starting lines I am giving you. So start to redefine the pleasure trap. Redefine your pleasure, pain avoidance, and energy conservation. And write down those definitions for the group and share. And we are all going to get there. But we are going to get there in a kingly way. Not like King Presley, but like King so-and-so, King so-and-so, and so-and-so. I'm not going to names here. Everybody of you is a king or a queen. Right then? So this is the main theory for week 11. And see you in the meeting again tonight and tomorrow. Bye.